Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Islam to all the Moors. Shalawama. I am Dr. Yasapa from Zion Law School. Welcome to the free astrotheology course. My intention, if nothing, if the live stream doesn't cut out, I'm going to give you guys more information on the origin of God, capital God. All right. Of course, this has nothing to do with religion, with dogmatic religion. It has everything to do with science and mathematics. Okay. So give me 1 second. So let me give you guys an update. So I've been trying to go live uh, in Rumble Studio for a while, and I haven't been able to go live. In fact, I think from what it looks like on my side, all of my video library has been deleted. And I'm actually surprised that I'm able to go live right now. So people say Rumble don't censor, but they sure are censoring the hell out of me. All of my videos. Let me pull it up. Let me see if I can show you guys what's happening. Oh, they're on my cell phone. Hold on. It's showing that I'm live. Hold on. Let me see. Give me a second. Hold on. See if this works. Give me a second. This is very frustrating. I think I'm going to have to go back to using, what was I using? The platform that I used before, Rumble. Uh, I'm going to have to go back to using it because this is ridiculous. Sometimes I can set up so you guys can see what's happening here. So it showed one of my videos, but this is the problem. When I try before when I'm trying to go live, I just get a squirrel. It can't find my library. That's on my device that I usually go live with. I don't go live with the mobile phone because the quality is very low, very poor. But on my iPad, I usually go live, and you guys can see what's happening, right? So whoever said Rumble doesn't censor is a lie. This is because I'm trying to access my video library, which appears to be deleted. So all of the videos I've done on Rumble, they appear to be deleted. Let me show you guys what's happening. Let me try to close that out. All right. So I'm in Rumble Studio. You guys see my videos, right? This is on my mobile phone. On my iPad where I go live from, I've never gone live from my mobile in Rumble. So you see the videos there. So let's see what happens. I'm actually shocked. Let me see if you guys. So let's see if it opens. I tried to open it. So you see it's not opening, right? You guys see what happens? So it looks like my library has been deleted. All my videos, it looks like, have been deleted. Or at least I can't access them through Rumble Studio. So let me see if I can Google search them. Uh-oh, what's that? Let's see. See, still nothing. Y'all see that? No good bastards. So let's see. Y'all see that? Just nothing. Hold on. Let me try to go through the regular Rumble app. Now, even my Rumble app is not loading. Everybody see what's happening? Do y'all see it? Let me type in Dr. Yasapa. See what happens. So I haven't gotten notified either that I'm live. I've been live. How many minutes? It says 6 minutes. I've been live. No notification from Rumble, or is there? Oh wait a minute. There's a notification. But look, nothing. Everybody see that? So I don't even know actually if this is even. If you guys can see me, put a one in the comment section. I don't even know if my feed is happening. Let me try YouTube. Am I on YouTube? Give me 1 second. Let's see. Okay, it says I'm live on YouTube. Mic check. All right. So I'm live on YouTube. Maybe I don't know what's happening. Uh, mic check. Mic check. Let me try YouTube. Mic check. Mic check. Give me 1 second. Yes, it's good. I guess this hurts, y'all. I tell you one thing: when you understand, uh, give me 1 second. Let's get into the topic here. So this is the historical. No, not the historical. This is the origin, the initial origin of the concept of God. Okay, y'all. Now remember, the concept of God is not ancient. They made that up. The concept of God came or was introduced with the solar zodiac, with what is today called the solar zodiac, with its 12 zodiac signs. Okay, scholars? So the concept of God was introduced with that. So in other words, the only zodiac is the circumpolar zodiac. That's the only one. The circumpolar zodiac. And our ancestors called it Sabian time. And as time went on, people started calling it Soot Typhoon, okay, or the Sabian period. And that's when we reckon time and reality by the stars, which is Circle 7, which is the origin of the concept of God. And it's nothing to be proud of. It's shameful. We'll get to that. We covered it in the last class. So the Circle 7 in the north with the Great Mother Typhoon, the thigh of Ursa Major or the thigh of the Great Bear, right? And then there's this is, I haven't talked about this much, but then there's Ursa Major and Ursa Minor, so the Great Bear and the Lesser Bear, all right? So some historians have said that the Great Bear and the Lesser Bear, which are today called the Big Dipper and the Little Dipper, are the two arms of the genitrix. So what's the genetrix? The genetrix is the original or aboriginal, right? Original, the first mother. So the first mother of us all. Okay? Anything that is physical. And all things have consciousness. All things have consciousness. The Hermetic law of vibration, the Hermetic law of rhythm. So the Big Dipper and the Little Dipper are again referred to by some historians as the genetrix, the first mother of us all, including time and space, the Great Mother Typhoon. All right. So we have Circle 7, what I just discussed, and then we have the Clock of Destiny, which is the North Pole and the South Pole. The North and South celestial poles. We're still dealing with Sabian time, the circumpolar zodiac, reckoning time and reality by the stars. So the minute hand of the Clock of Destiny, and C.M. Bay, uh, in his 2-volume work called The Clock of Destiny, gave us this information. He got it from our prophet Noble Drew Ali. So you guys can go to enforcetheconstitution.org and get it a free download, free PDF download that's pristine. I know because I've read it myself. No alterations, nothing like that, and it's free. Right? And it's free and it's easy to find. You don't have to do a whole bunch of digging and like you used to do before it was made available on enforcetheconstitution.org. So anyway, Clock of Destiny. In the North Celestial Pole, we have the handle of the Big Dipper, which is the hour hand, I'm sorry, which is the minute hand of the Clock of Destiny. And then in the South Celestial Pole, we have Sit the Dog Star, which is the hour hand of the Clock of Destiny. So in the North, the tail of the Great Bear, which is called today the handle of the Big Dipper. So the handle of the Big Dipper is the minute hand of the Clock of Destiny, and we can tell the time on a 24-hour basis and the time on a seasonal basis, where there are 4 seasons. You all get it? Everybody understand it? So we can tell whether it's winter, summer, spring, and fall based upon the direction that the handle of the Great Bear is pointing. And I've shown the image before. If I remember, I'll show it again. Okay. And then we can also tell the time on a 24-hour basis. All right. Now, Sit the Dog Star in the South is the hour hand of the Clock of Destiny with this helical rising, signaling uh, the flood, the flood of the dial and all of that stuff. Um, uh, and birth and rebirth, right? So if there's a rebirth, there must have been a death. Okay, so the regeneration or the never-ending or everlasting life on earth. Okay, y'all, everybody get that? Everlasting life on earth. Uh, the birth, growth, maturity, decline, death, degradation, right? The flesh or the vegetation, it dies and then it's broken down into constituent parts, and that's used for minerals for the next spring. All right. Oh, so now, so we've covered those things. Now, very importantly, natural law, which means don't steal, which is where in civics we get there has to be an injured party in order for a case to be brought against someone. There has to be an injured party. There has to be someone who has been injured and who will take responsibility. If this person is lying. So there's no free cases. right? No more free, as they say in Asia. No more free. Get out. No more free. Hold on, y'all. What did I miss? Okay, so Circle 7, Clock of Destiny, Natural Law, Don't Steal. Oh, the Workshop of the Mind. The Workshop of the Mind is the balancing of the left and right hemisphere, brain hemispheres, um, less than 14 cycles per second, less than 14 cycles per second, or 7 to 14 to be, I think it's in the alpha range brainwave. And then with intention and purpose, utilizing your faculty of visualization. So you have to first acknowledge that you have it, and then you have to train it because it is a skill, right? This is a part of most people's brain that they have not developed, right? Because they don't, it's not, they don't, they're either not aware that it's there, or they don't, no emphasis has been given on developing that faculty of the mind. Okay. And then, of course, imagination. So, visualization is when you see in your mind's eye a picture of something. So, for example, this little teacup, right? Now, some people can see it in their mind's eye with their eyes open or closed, right? I know I can. You can too if you practice. So, you see the size of it compared to my hand. Let's say if I see it in my mind and it's 10 times bigger, 10 times bigger than my hand. So that's imagination. So I've altered uh, the teacup. That's called imagination. So that's just another faculty of the mind that's not emphasized, and we need to develop it. And it's through the intentional use of our faculty of visualization and faculty of imagination that we can bend reality to create the world around us that we want. That would be our health status, someone else's health status, the level of enjoyment, happiness, pleasure, whatever circumstances and conditions, relationships we want. We have the faculty, or the workshop of the mind is the way to get it. And unfortunately, the workshop of the mind has been hijacked or hidden from us, right? It's been hidden from us, and its function has been transferred to an external God. All right, its function has been transferred to an external God, meaning that when you are praying for the external God to do something, well, the external God isn't doing it. You are doing it. You're doing it, but you're not aware of it. Y'all see, that's a cold-blooded mind F, right? But this is what they did to us. But first, they created this notion of an external God existing. So I've gone through that on my last two videos before this one, maybe the last two or even three videos before this one. It was about the circle. Well, let me see if I can just, I'm not going to go, scholars, I'm not going to go into all of the details, but I will just remind y'all of the major elements. So our ancestors drew a boundary around that which is boundless, and that boundary was in the shape of a circle, 360 degrees. 3 plus 6 plus 0 is 9. Okay, so 9, of course, represents the uterus. The circle at the top is the uterus. And the line going down, let me show y'all image. Those of y'all who might not be so comfortable with so let's see. Okay, so the circle at the top is the uterus. All right, y'all. And then the line going down is the vagina or the vaginal canal. Everybody see that? So this is the Hermetic law of gender in its feminine function, or the extreme end of the line of gender, the line that represents gender, the extreme end of that line that represents feminine energy. Not woman, but feminine energy. Remember, woman is primarily feminine energy, but woman also has masculine energy. All right, y'all? So womb man, 9, okay? So 9 is feminine energy, not sex, not gender roles, feminine energy, okay, y'all? And then at the opposite end of the same, so let's say my arm, this is gender. So on this end, this is the extreme opposite end of the same line, right? So this would be the feminine energy, number 9. And then go all the way to the extreme opposite end of the same line would be masculine, masculine gender. Okay, masculine gender energy, the Hermetic law or principle of gender. So, as we would expect, since it's on the opposite end, we just flip the 9 over. Now you see the testicle, the circle at the bottom, and the line going up is the penile shaft. Does everyone see it? So 6 and 9 represent the law of gender. The Great Mother Typhoon is the Hermetic law of gender in its feminine function or feminine role of creating, for example, creating time. Time was created, right? How was time created? Circle 7. When the 7 stars that make up the thigh of the Great Bear, today called the Big Dipper, when it made its first rotation around the North Celestial Pole, that was the beginning of time. That was the beginning of time. Okay, and the Great Mother Typhoon is also the Great Mother of space. So all things, okay, all things physical, all right? The Great Mother Typhoon is the second most powerful force or most influential force that there is. The first, of course, is the first law, the first Hermetic law, which is the Hermetic law of mentalism, which is consciousness, okay? And consciousness is a vibration. So the same principle, the law of opposites that I talked about in the last 1 or 2 videos, maybe I'll mention it, I'll show it again. So the extreme opposite end, so we're dealing with consciousness. It's so slow, low vibrational, that looks like nothing. But I'm sorry, the Hermetic law of consciousness is the first Hermetic law, and all of the other 6 Hermetic laws come from consciousness or the Hermetic law of mentalism. What I was thinking about was the law of vibration. Okay. So there's a vibration where it's so slow that it looks like it's not moving. And then it's, at the opposite end, it's moving so fast that it looks like it's not moving. Okay. So I kind of got ahead of myself on that one. But anyway, let's go to now the origin of God that we talked about. So here you see the origin. Do y'all see that, the equation of a circle? Now look at the circle. The circle is the universe. So everything that there is, everything that there ever could be, everything that ever was, is within the circle. Now the circle represents a force field. The circle is a force field. And the force field keeps everything inside of it, okay? Let me show it again. The circle is a force field that keeps everything inside of it. Now you look at the center, point A, comma B. This is the center of the circle. So what is it telling us? Hold on. Do y'all see the purple arrow? See, there's a force extending from the center of the circle going outward to the edge. There's a force. Now, there's a force extending from the opposite end of that purple line. You see it crossing through A, all right? And that force is pushing out in the opposite direction. And this is the law of opposites. Okay, so you can move the dot in the center anywhere within the circle. And there's going to be an equal and opposite force applied to that dot to keep the entire system in equilibrium. Okay, y'all? So, of course, the r is the radius, the distance between the center of the circle, which is A comma B or 0 comma 0 if you want to graph it out. And then the circle itself, the edges of the circle, that's the circumference. All right, so that's the radius. I'm not going to go through everything, okay? But let me just show the major stuff. One second. All right, here's the equation for the circle. All right, so you can find any point. You can find any point within that circle using this equation. All right. So if I remember correctly, this is like 7th grade math. I don't remember. Okay. So now let's deal with a few other things. One second. Yo, watch. Okay. So here you see there's an upper part, there's a line going through the center of the circle. So this would be two hemispheres, right? A north and a south hemisphere. Okay. Give me one second. Yeah, this is an illustration of what I was talking about. Hold on, let me see if I can get it to go the other way. Yeah. All right. So do you see the center of the circle at 0, 0? So if you move it, so the red picture shows the center is at 0, 0. The blue shows that the dot in the middle has moved. Okay, and you see the mathematical equation to graph that out. All right, so now there's going to be equal and opposite pressure on both sides of the dot, okay, or wherever the point is. Actually, it's extending in all directions, but y'all get the point, okay? Because we're dealing with a force field. So the forces keep the system in equilibrium, no matter where that dot is um, within the circle. Now, remember, our topic is the concept of God. The concept, and so this is how our ancestors conceptualized the universe. All right, how we created time and space. See, it exists in consciousness. Give me 1 second, y'all. So if y'all wanted to do a problem, let me put this here. Y'all can work that out on your own. I'm not so much interested in you being able to do the math. I want you to understand the concept right now. All right, give me 1 second, y'all. All right. So I think that's enough. But I want to. We did the four. We did. I did the four corners, right? Yeah, we did the four corners. The four corners was the circle, the red circle. All right. Okay, take a look at this. So this is useful when you graph it out. All right, y'all. Now I'm looking for there's a there's an image that has the definitions on it that I want to show y'all. All right, here we are. Oh, no, that's not it. Hold on. So I'm not ready to go to the triangle yet. There's something else I want to show y'all. But unfortunately, ah, well, I don't see it, but we can look at this one. Okay, so what we're primarily interested in, oops, is the equation for area. The equation for area, do y'all see it? Which is pi times the radius squared. Do y'all see it? Area is pi times the radius squared. So we need to figure out what pi is, okay, and how pi was derived. And that's kind of what I want to come bring to y'all today. All right. Now you see circumference is c. Circumference equals 2 times pi times the radius. 2 times pi times r. Diameter d equals 2 times the radius. Okay. So radius and area figure prominently here. So RA, y'all can look at the post I did maybe a week ago or so. I did a post about radius and area. Now keep in mind, radius R, area A, Ra. Spells Ra. Radius R, area A spells Ra, right? But actually it's capital R, capital A, which is the same thing as right ascension meridian in the East Gate, which is the Lamb of God, which is the Christ figure in all of the solar religions. Everyone see that? Which is Soot, the dog star, deified, deified by the Solarites. Soot, the dog star, the hour hand of the uh, clock of destiny in the south celestial pole, which represents the principles love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice, or simply don't steal. So Sit the Dog Star gets deified, okay, gets anthropomorphized into a solar deity. Okay, is it clear? So in Christianity, they call it Jesus. So they give Sut, they deify Sut, and then they put on his head a crown. And this crown has the horns of a lamb. Does everyone see it? And this is why when you see Moses coming out of the mountain, he comes out with ram's horns. The newer translations will say his face shone, 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 or was glorified, something to that effect, meaning a whole bunch of sunlight. All right, and the get down that they give you is that the ancient Ibaryath word means both uh, very shiny, glorified, and horns. All right. But they don't tell you the truth that those horns represented the crown that was put on the head of Sut the dog star. So they called him Sebek Ra. Ra meaning right ascension. Okay. Right ascension, the east gate, the Lamb of God. But they don't tell you that they got the Ra from radius and area of a circle. And this circle represented the universe, a force field that has everything in it. Do y'all see? So hold on, give me a second, y'all. Let me let me keep it going. Now this is good. Do y'all see why they call it the four corners? Now of course this is graph paper, but you see the four corners, right? Where the lines intersect, these are 90-degree angles, so that's a square. So this is the squared circle, right? Or standing on your square. This was moved down into the solar zodiac. And this is where the north, south, east, and west comes from. All right, y'all. And let's look at these four divisions and the circle in the middle. So this is where the Most High dwells between the cherubs come from. Dwells between the cherubim. So there's a cherubim in each of those four sections, which would be winter, summer, spring, and fall in the solar zodiac. All right, y'all, that's where they got it from. And the center is the Most High who dwells between the cherubim. Now, of course, we know that our ancestors taught that there's a sun behind the sun. So that dot is not the actual sun, but there's a sun, a black sun, emitting black rays behind the sun, and then those black rays are reflected off of the stars, and we perceive it as sunlight. All right, y'all. So this is the head of a bull, the head of a lion, the head of a eagle, and the head of a man, or Aquarius. Aquarius. All right. So these are the four living creatures in Ezekiel chapter 1, and I think it's Revelation chapter 4. That's where this whole thing comes from. So in the North Celestial Pole, these different regions are represented by a hippopotamus. I believe the hippopotamus is representing water, if I remember correctly. Water, the great fish, right? The hippopotamus. Um, and then of course there's the phoenix representing fire, which later becomes a lion. um, the alligator, and an ape. All right, y'all? Representing the four forces. All right. So I want to get you something better. Um, Give me 1 second. Why am I having such a hard time navigating? 1 second, y'all. I might have to change. Here we are. This is what I want. So I want to show y'all tangent. Hold on. So tangent becomes important. What I want you to focus on is tangent right here. All right. You see the line outside of the circle. So we're going to deal with that shortly. All right, y'all. Tangent. Hold on. 1 second. Okay, take a look at the pink area. Hold on. So look at this circle. Y'all see the pink area? All right, you see the dot in the middle? Let's just call the dot in the middle the North Celestial Pole, all right? Which also, by the way, is called the throne of God. The North Celestial Pole is the throne of God. And here's the interesting thing. Here's the interesting thing. The author of The Celestial Ship of the North, um, Emma Valencia Strayton, she says that the ancient astrologers said that the thigh of the Great Bear was closer to the North Celestial Pole than it is today. Than it is today. So of course, in my mind, I'm thinking, well, maybe it's still where it originally was. Maybe it hasn't moved. I need to see evidence because I know what the implications are if it was closer or if it is in fact the North Celestial Pole. All right, y'all? Y'all see what I'm saying? Okay, so now you draw imagine we draw those two lines outside of the circle like a tangent connecting in the central dot so that the angles and the length of the lines are the same. Just imagine that. It's going to give you another cone like a triangle, right? Brother, keep that in mind. Give me 1 second. Uh-oh. All right. So now let's deal with the pi now. Let's deal with pi. Now I had some stuff. I had some stuff pre-prepared. Let me see if I can still find it. I almost forgot about that. I didn't get a chance to present it before. Let's see. Hold on, y'all. Let me see if I still have it. Hmm. One second. You know the thing about being in Asia, when you're in Asia, everybody, so many people smoke, and they're so inconsiderate and disrespectful. They'll come right next to you and fire up a cigarette. You know, as if they don't know about secondhand smoke, asthma, cancer. Just so disrespectful, so inconsiderate. That's the one thing. If you travel to Asia, that's the one drawback. I guarantee you. Uh, if there's anything that you won't like, and you'll say, "I'm never coming back to Asia," it would be that. Otherwise, otherwise, life is good in Asia. Hold on. Maybe it's on my other device. Oh well. Let me see if I can Google it. If I can find it on Google. So let's start off with pi. So of course, this is the sign for pi, right? Right, everyone. This is the sign for pi. And let's look at. Oh, you know what? Hold on, I know what I can do. Y'all see on my battery life it say 33. What's 32 now? It said 33. Give me 1 second, y'all. I'm getting the info. All right, so here we go. Now y'all pay close attention to the dates and don't accept any wooden nickels. All right. In other words, don't just believe something because you see it here. You have to put two and two together. All right. So this is Google Gemini, their AI app. So let's go through it. So my question is, what's the origin of pi? Concept of pi as the ratio of a circle circumference to its diameter has ancient origins. So the ratio, what does it say, y'all? The concept of pi as the ratio of a circle's circumference. Okay, now remember, our ancestors drew a boundary around that which was boundless. Okay, and that boundary is a circle, it's a force field. And everything that was, is, and could ever be is within that force field, that circular force field, with the North Celestial Pole at the center, with the throne of God at the center. All right, with the thigh of the Great Bear or the Big Dipper extremely near the North Pole in the earliest days. But of course, I don't buy that, right? I don't think it moved. How would they know? Okay. Or how does it, how would anyone know if it's not cycling back and forth? It's just BS, right? It's just speculation. Okay, so anyway, the concept of pi as the ratio of a circle's circumference, that's the edges of the circle, so the edges of the force field representing the universe, to its diameter. To its diameter, not radius, diameter. So from one edge of the circle to the extreme opposite end of the circle. So now we're dealing with what? Polarity, opposite ends of the same line. Everyone see it? Opposite ends of the same line. Masculine energy, feminine energy. Hot, cold. Rapid, slow. Okay, in, out. These are Hermetic laws. All right. So the ratio of a circle's circumference to its diameter has ancient origins, predating the use of the Greek letter pi to represent it. Here's a glimpse into its history. Here's a glimpse into pi's history. Early approximations. Babylonians around 2000 BCE, they used an approximation of 3.125 for pi. Egyptians around 1650 BCE, the Rhine papyrus indicates they used a value of approximately 3.1605 for pi. Listen, these early civilizations likely arrived at these values through measurement and empirical observation, using a useful for practical applications like construction and astronomy. Now, pi. They're saying that the concept of pi is not older than 2000 BCE. Well, if that's the case, how were the pyramids built? This is absolutely ridiculous. But they have to stretch the truth in order in order to give life or to avoid contradictory evidence against the biblical Genesis chapter 1 time that earth began and when the end will come, right? Remember the 7 days? Y'all remember that? A day is approximately 1,000 years and all of that garbage. Now let's continue. So let me put this on the camera. Hold on. So you can pause the video and replay it, all right? So pi is significant. We're going to get more into it. Don't worry. Hold on. So these early civilizations likely arrived at these values through measurement and empirical observation, useful in construction and astronomy. Ancient Greek contributions. Here's a whole bunch of BS, right, y'all? Everybody should know that. Archimedes around 2000, around 250 BCE, he made a significant theoretical advancement by using the Pythagorean theorem to calculate the area of polygons. Now, y'all, we're going to look at that, okay? Let's see if it's true. Because if this is true, there should be no evidence showing that the Pythagorean theorem existed, right? There should be none before this guy did what they're claiming he did. It was all BS, y'all. It's all BS. And those of you who might be upset because I'm saying this, you just look at the evidence before you get mad. All right. So let's continue. Hold on. Can y'all see that? All right. So let's go back to Archimedes. Okay, so he made significant theoretical advancements by using the Pythagorean theorem. Theorem is different from a theory. A theorem means it's proven to calculate the areas of polygons, to calculate the areas, radius and area, to calculate the area of polygons inscribed within and circumscribed around a circle. By increasing the number of sides of these polygons, he narrowed down the value of pi, establishing that pi lies, listen, yo, this is a very narcissistic group of beings, right? Okay, so he narrowed down the value of pi, establishing that pi lies between 3 and 10 over 71, or approximately 3.1408, and 3 and 1 over 7, approximately 3.1429. Further refinements. Chinese mathematicians in the 5th century AD, Zhu Kangazi calculated pi to be 7 decimal points. Indian mathematicians Arahata, hold on. Every time I move it, I lose my space. So Indian mathematicians Arahata, this is around the 5th century AD, gave an approximation of pi for 3.1416. Over the centuries, mathematicians continued to refine the calculation of pi to more and more decimal places using increasingly sophisticated methods. The symbol pi. The Greek letter pi was introduced in 1706 by Welsh mathematician William Jones to represent uh, the ratio. The use of the symbol was popularized by Swiss mathematician Leonhard Euler in 1737. The choice of pi comes from the first letter of the Greek word, which means periphery. I'm not going to try to pronounce it in the Greek, meaning circumference. Okay, y'all? Okay, so we're dealing with the circumference, the radius of a circle, right? Not the area of a circle. Therefore, while the concept of pi and its approximate value have been known for about 4,000 years, The use of the Greek letter pi as its symbol is a more recent development from the 18th century. So if this is the case, there should be no megalithic monuments or anything else that clearly showed they knew pi, or they would have had to know pi in order to construct those megalithic monuments. Y'all get it? So this is like easy work to see that they're just lying. They just make stuff up, right? But you know, in the past, our people were pretty much ignorant, right? We're pretty much ignorant due to we're forced into being ignorant. Unfortunately, now a lot of our people choose to stay ignorant. Okay, y'all pause it on the replay. Y'all can. And it's not too many things worse than someone who's willfully ignorant. And, you know, I'm sure probably all y'all agree with me on that. So pause it on the video. Pause it on the replay. Y'all can read this, okay? All right, so now let's deal with it. One second, y'all. So I just put back into Gemini, show me a video to explain it. So let's go through it. So I'm going to click on the first link. So it's real easy to find this information out, y'all.
Take your execution to the next level. Procrastination isn't your fault. This video is brought to you by Squarespace. Whether you need a domain,
this is 16.
Make it with Squarespace.
Hold on.
Take any circle, measure its circumference.
That's too long. I don't want 16 minutes. Hold on.
Why does the number pi equal? Oh, well.
Before I had a video that was only like a couple minutes.
Archimedes didn't have sophisticated tools. All he had was an old wooden cartwheel. Actually, we have sophisticated tools like Kellogg's Crunchy Nut cornflakes.
Give me a second. Did I save it? Yeah. All right. Okay. So let's start here, y'all. Hold on. Wait. Let's do it one more time. So there's 1, 2, 3. All right. So pi equals 3.14. All right. So let's continue. Hold on. There's a much better one. I just need to find it. I went over this before. Hold on, maybe this is it.
The story of pi from Pythagoras to Newton. The way we know pi today has a long history dating back to thousands of years. The discoveries made by each of these single figures contributed to the building blocks of creating what we know as pi today. So I present to you a quick historical buildup of how we discovered pi. Around 500 BC, Pythagoras is credited for discovering the Pythagorean theorem. This is the relationship between the area of the squares on the legs of a right triangle equal to the area of the larger square on the hypotenuse. Around 300 BC, Euclid wrote the greatest geometry textbook of all time, where in the first book he completely proved the Pythagorean theorem. This set a new standard in mathematics where math ideas needed to be proven so that it stood the test of time. Around 200 BC, Archimedes was the first to devise a precise method to find the value of pi. What Archimedes did was he inscribed a polygon inside a circle and outside the circle. He set the radius of the circle to be 1/2, making the perimeter of the circle set to pi.
There's the
Finding
radius.
the perimeter of a polygon could easily be found, so as the sides of the polygons increased, the closer it approximated the value of pi. Throughout the second millennium, changes in mathematics included the adoption of the decimal system that made making calculations easier. Various ideas in geometry were also soon translated into algebraic notation. Everything in Euclid's proof of the Pythagorean theorem was simply translated into the equation of a squared plus b squared equals c squared. Around the 1600s, René Descartes helped to completely combine geometry and algebra together using the Cartesian coordinate system. At the heart of this transformation is the Pythagorean theorem, because it is used to derive the distance formula. The formula is then used to derive the equations of the ellipse, the parabola, hyperbola, and the circle. One of the interesting developments in algebra was the binomial expansion. Euclid represented the first binomial expansion in geometric form. What algebra could do that ancient geometry could not was continue calculating the binomial expansion in higher dimensions. The predictable pattern in how the binomials expanded, along with Pascal's triangle, form what is known today as the binomial theorem. One thing to quickly note is the infinite series. This is an example of an infinite series. If you take a shape with a length of 1 and cut each piece in half repeatedly, it's going to represent the terms of the infinite series. Altogether, the area of the pieces is 1, so the infinite series converges to 1. We now arrive at Newton. Newton helped to develop calculus, but what is calculus? So, all geometric curves can be represented by equations. If you differentiate the equation, you can get the equation of the tangent line to the curve. If you integrate an equation, you get the area bounded by the curve and the axis lines. Integration is what Newton used to find pi. Finally, we arrive at the form that Newton was able to calculate pi. Newton first used the equation of a circle with a radius of 1. He then solved for y. So the equation became y equals the square root of 1 minus x squared. What Newton did next was he applied the binomial expansion to the equation of a circle where the exponent is 1/2. This still represents the equation of the circle, but in binomial form. Now, when we take the integral of the equation, it now represents the area under the curve. To make this simple, let's just concentrate on the area between 0 and 1. So the area is just 1/4 of the circle. Since the radius is 1, the area of this section is pi over 4. Now, the amazing thing about this setup is that we can now solve for pi. We can calculate pi using the terms of the binomial expansion. The more terms we calculate, the closer we get to pi. This is similar to the infinite series, where if we have infinitely many terms, it is going to converge to pi. And this is how Newton calculated pi. Thousands of years of math development had to happen to arrive at this technique of calculating pi, which is why Newton is quoted as saying, "If I have seen further than others, it is by standing upon the shoulders of giants." Thank you for watching this video. Please like and subscribe and check out my website, pythagoreanmath.com.
Okay, so that's not the one I wanted. Hold on. Is this it?
What's the area of this circle? Using the area formula, we know its pi. But what is its value? What's the area of this circle? Using the area formula, we know its pi. But what circle? Using the area formula, we know its pi. But what is its value? Archimedes figured out a clever way to estimate it by trapping the circle between polygons. Here's how. Let's start with squares. What are the areas? The inner one is made up of 4 right triangles, each with an area of half, so its total area is 2 square units. Likewise, the outer square has an area of 4 square units. So the circle's area, which is pi, must lie between these two areas, that is 2 and 4. Archimedes trapped the circle more closely by increasing the number of sides of these polygons. Like for octagons, he found the areas as these. Now, the circle's area is trapped between 2.83 and 3.31. He continued increasing the number of sides until he reached a 96-sided regular polygon, finally trapping pi in this range. And that was the first time we got to know that pi was roughly 3.14. What's the area of this circle?
Okay, y'all, that was the one I was looking for.
We know it's pi, but what is its value? Archimedes, this circle, using the area formula of this.
Hold on. Ouch. Shit.
What's the area of this circle?
Area?
Using the area formula, we know it's pi. But what is its value? Archimedes figured out a clever way to estimate it by trapping the circle between polygons. Here's how. Let's start with squares.
There's a square.
What are the areas? The inner one is made up of 4 right triangles, each with an area of half. So its total area is 2 square units.
Circle
Likewise,
in the square,
outer
y'all.
square has an area of 4 square units. So the circle's area, which is pi, must lie between these two areas, that is 2 and 4. Archimedes trapped the circle more closely by increasing the number of sides of these polygons. Like for octagons, he found the areas as these. Now, the circle's area is trapped between 2.83 and 3.31. He continued increasing the number of sides until he reached a 96-sided regular polygon, finally trapping pi in this range. And that was the first time we got to know that pi was roughly 3.14. What's the area of
96? A 96-sided polygon. That's the Hermetic law of gender, right? 9 is the feminine extreme end of the line, right? And then, of course, 6 is the masculine extreme end of the line. So a 96-sided polygon was how they found pi. I want to show that one more again. Hold on.
What's the area of?
Hold on.
Using the area formula. What's the area of this circle?
Hold on, y'all.
Using the area formula, we know it's pi. But what is its value? What's the area of this circle? Using the area formula, we know it's pi. But what is its value? Archimedes figured out a clever way to estimate it by trapping the circle between polygons. Here's how. Let's start with squares. What are the areas? The inner one is made up of 4 right triangles, each with an area of half. So its total area is 2 square units. Likewise, the outer square has an area of 4 square units. So the circle's area, which is pi, must lie between these two areas, that is 2 and 4. Archimedes trapped the circle more closely by increasing the number of sides of these polygons. Like for octagons, he found the areas as these. Now, the circle's area is trapped between 2.83 and 3.31. He continued increasing the number of sides until he reached a 96-sided regular polygon, finally trapping pi in this range. And that was the first time we got to know that pi was roughly 3.14. What's the area of this circle?
Okay, y'all. So, this is why the culture, or the Sabian culture, Moorish culture, is mathematics, right? The numbers scaling from 0 to 9. And of course, geometry, algebra, geometry, trigonometry, calculus. This is our culture. And this is where the concept of God comes from. And it's also where the concept of the law, or actually where our ancestors discovered the great law of opposites, or the law of polarity, right? Which governs the Hermetic laws. And by the way, you see the law of opposites in the Bible, actually. And I talked about this within the last 4 or 5 videos. Y'all gonna have to go back and watch it. But the essence of it is, was it Deuteronomy? Maybe it's Deuteronomy 5:9. Let me check it. Hold on. So when you break the law, is it Deuteronomy 5:9? Or is it Deuteronomy? Let's see. Deuteronomy, you shall not steal. Deuteronomy 5:9. I did not expect to get that. You should not steal. All right. See, what happens if you steal something? What does the law say? It says that when you break the law, natural law, it's going to come back on you through your generations. Exactly when, we don't know. But it says to the third and fourth generation, 3 plus 4 is 7. So that's complete. See, it's a done deal. When you're out here stealing or injuring people, it will come back on you and your heirs. And you're going to come back through the same line. So it's going to come back on you, on your head. Let me find that verse. Maybe it's 9:4. Maybe it's 9:4. Sometimes I mix them up. I get confused. Let's see. Nope. 4:9. Why am I not remembering? Hmm. Is it 4:6, y'all? Oh well, if it doesn't come, it doesn't come. Y'all have to watch the other video. Oh, hold on. What does the verse go? To the third. Let's see. Yeah, Deuteronomy 5:9. Yeah, that's it. So in the KJV, Deuteronomy 5:9 reads like this: Thou shalt not bow down thyself unto them, nor serve them. These are these external gods. Why? Well, one, there is no real external God. It is a remix of the radius and the area of the circle, which was remixed into Ra, the sun or solar deity. All right, y'all, or classification of deities. So don't bow down to them. And it was given the power. It was given the power of the workshop of your mind that we discussed earlier. That's where the concept of the external God comes from. So he continues, For I, the Lord, capital Lord, thy God, am a jealous God, visiting the iniquity of the fathers upon the children unto the third and fourth generation of them that hate me. 3 plus 4 is 7. 7 in the Bible means complete. All right? It's complete. Y'all see it? Visiting the inequity of the father upon the children. Y'all see it? So how does this play out in civics? How does it play out in civics? Well, you can trace it back to, or this is a part of the curses, Deuteronomy chapter 28, 15 through 68. See, when the nation would go against the Most High, they get kicked out of the promised land, they would lose their nationality. They would lose their nationality, which would include their property, all of their titles of nobility, even their dignity, right? Even their dignity. So that when ooh-wee. Hold on, yo. Where was I? Where was I? Where was I? Oh, okay. So that they would lose their nationality and their birthright would include, which would include their tangible and intangible property, not just for them themselves, but also for their heirs. Through the generations, they would lose everything. Okay, so this is where um, corruption of the blood comes in. Okay, so when you break the Most High's laws, as they say in religion, you corrupt the blood of the covenant, corrupt the blood of the contract. Let me pull that up for y'all. So that's also in civics, right? You lose your property due to corruption of the blood. So therefore, neither you or your heirs can inherit anything. You become non-descendable. Okay, so that's how this is expressed in civics, and of course in dogmatic religion. Hold on. Hold on. Wow. All right. So y'all ready? Here it is. This is a big one. Can y'all see that? Corruption of the blood refers to a legal consequence of attainder. So there you go. Bills of attainder. And this is what the uh, corporate United States, the actors within that corporation company are doing to us. They hit us with bills of attainder and bills of pain and suffering to steal our birthright. So look, y'all, corruption of the blood refers to a legal consequence of attainder, which disqualifies a person from inheriting or transmitting property due to being convicted of a serious crime, such as treason. Oh, this is Deuteronomy chapter 28. What was actually, I used to teach this in my classes. Hold on. This is what I'm eating. This is what the Vietnamese people, I suppose Chinese too, because there's a big Chinese cultural influence or trade or exchange, rather, cultural exchange in Vietnam with China. So people commonly eat, I think this is some kind of bean. People commonly eat this when they drink tea. It's pretty good. It's pretty good. Um, it's like it's like a powdery, like a dry, powdery, little bit sweet taste. Um, See, here's the thing. These guys, hey, he see me right here. He's gonna come over here and start smoking a cigarette. Uh, where was I? Oh, bills of attainder. So let me show you bills of attainder. Let me show you corruption of the blood. So treason. So yeah, treason. Deuteronomy 28. Treason is calling on another power other than the Most High, right? See, when you look at the reason why the house of Yasharallah was kicked out of the promised land, why they lost their nationality, it was because they called on another deity. There's no other of the Ten Commandments, there's no other commandment that is directly listed other than that they were calling on the names of these other gods, right? So now this gets back to self. Who am I? The workshop of the mind, which is why Noble Drew Ali, our prophet Noble Drew Ali said, and when I say prophet, I'm not talking about dogmatic religion. So y'all have to read his literature to know what I'm talking about. It's not religion. So don't be offended or confused. But this is why he said, and I'm paraphrasing, after you study everything, study yourself more. Study yourself more. And that there is a higher self and a lower self. There is no external devil. He's right about that. This is why people talk about manifesting, even though they don't give you the real deal with it. But people have brought this to your attention in one form or another, right? In one form or another. Hold on. My mind is on this food because I'm hungry. So that's what it looks like. And y'all see it. That's what it looks like. They come in like these little squares. And I'm really hungry. I need some nutrition. Where am I? So this is the treason, felony, right? Felony. So when you go against the instructions that were handed down to you through your bloodline, see, that's called Torah. The instructions that are handed to you through your bloodline is called Torah. That's what it is. That's the etymological meaning of law. And that's coming from uh, a book called Natural Law that's inserted in uh, Orlani's book called The Ruin of Nations. That's where you get the etymological meaning of law. The instructions, and y'all get this, it's the instructions that are passed through the generations that you are supposed to follow. And the natural law is don't steal. That's the only one, don't steal. And y'all go to search on YouTube Mark Passio. Mark Passio. He does a lot of good work on natural law. All of us need to really study his work. Where am I? So I did treason. Natural law, don't steal, corruption of the blood in the Bible. So remember, corruption of the blood civilly is bills of attainder. So any type of traffic ticket, any type of correspondence that you would get, um, there's bringing an alleged case against you, and there is no injured party, is a bill of attainder. Okay, no matter what it is, it's a bill of attainder. It's robbing you of your birthright, and no due process. No due process. Hold on, y'all. Um, remember Moses. So the corruption of blood concept comes from the Bible. Moses sprinkled. One second, y'all. Oh no, I gotta go on a second. Shoot. I wonder why they make this so hard to find. Is it Exodus 19? Sometimes, y'all, when I don't look at these verses over a long, long period of time, sometimes it slips my mind. Okay, y'all. So let me just give y'all this because I have to go. This is the Amplified Bible, Exodus chapter 24, verse 28. Y'all see that? So Moses took the blood, which had been placed in a large basin, and sprinkled it on the people and said, quote unquote, behold, the blood of the covenant, which the Lord has made with you. Hold on. Which the Lord has made with you in accordance with all these words. Christian Standard Bible. Moses took the blood, splattered it on the people, and said, quote unquote, this is the blood of the covenant that the Lord has made with you concerning all these words. All right, Holman Christian Standard Bible. Moses took the blood, sprinkled it on the people, and said, quote unquote, this is the blood of the covenant that the Lord has made with you concerning all these words. All right, so when someone committed a felony, which is the equivalent of treason, by following these external gods, we're talking about dogmatic religion, they corrupted the blood of the covenant. Y'all see it? They corrupted the blood of the covenant. And so therefore they would lose their birthright. In other words, you disrespect yourself and your ancestors, which would be your nation, your bloodline, then you got to go. Right? you got to go. In other words, now the universe is out of balance and it has to adjust to reach equilibrium again. Assalamu alaikum, Islam to all the Moors, Shalom.